Hi.
Welcome to the dungeon, as I call it.
Yeah. Welcome to your basement, it appears.
Yeah, we got work going on the roof. My house just chose 2026 to have everything go wrong with it. So I'm down here in the kids' playroom, Peloton, do a lot of work on this guy over here, let me tell you. Welcome to Product Fridays, everybody. I'm Andrew Miguel.
I'm Andrew Phelps.
Andrew, last week we threw down a little bit of a gauntlet and we
Yes.
said we are going to take a popular SaaS platform and we're going to make our own version of it and we're going to cancel it from our credit card. And we left it up to the listeners, the viewers, the readers to decide which platform it is. And do you want to tell us what they decided?
Well, they decided what we decided, which is QuickBooks / FreshBooks, which is the QuickBooks competitor that I use. You use QuickBooks. And I'm thrilled with this, Andrew, because I've always wanted to do this anyway. And I just got an email last week from FreshBooks saying that once again, they are raising the prices of their most basic plan from $36 a month to $43 a month, which over the course of a year is a lot of money for a product that I do not enjoy.
It's funny because I think we said this in the last episode. QuickBooks and FreshBooks is one of those pieces of software that feels so bloated, so overladen with stuff I don't need.
Yeah.
And yet I'm terrified of the negative repercussions of not having it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as I contemplate getting rid of it, it's really forced me to think about what parts of that giant list of features I actually use. And it's vanishingly little.
Yes. And since we started the Andrew Company, we have chosen to bank with Mercury, which is the sort of startup friendly fintech. And Mercury, which I think is a great product, lovely software, which I've never really said about a bank or bank-like product, have kind of a lot of accounting-ish features like expense categorization, invoicing, to the point where we're like, the gap is shrinking and we could probably Vibecode the difference.
And that's what I kind of want to dig into in this call, this podcast. And then I think over the intervening period before the next one, we will make it and then we'll display it. But this is all about defining what this product should be.
Yeah, this is cursor plan mode. You and I are the LLMs, Andrew Intelligence.
So I came up with a little gimmick to maybe help us think through this.
Okay.
I have asked Claude to list out all of the QuickBook features that they currently offer. And I did a little pre-categorization about what things I think we definitely don't use, what things we might use. Okay, feature number 1, invoicing.
Well, our banking software has that built in, so I would say no. I guess the only thing we should think through is the fact that in an accounting app that has invoicing, the invoices and the fact that invoices are paid is then nicely linked to your P&Ls and you sort of have all that data flowing together. So invoicing itself, I think, is covered, but we should make sure that it fits into the new product. But yeah.
I think you're totally right. Yeah. Invoicing doesn't matter. Mercury is going to do that for us, our bank.
Right.
But I do think there's a need for us to know, like customer by customer, what's out there, what's owed, what are we still yet to invoice. There's something there.
Yeah, yeah. And Mercury may offer it. And we just need to dig into that and like really kick the tires on the UX.
Okay, so next thing would be payroll. And I don't know, I just simply don't think we have any employees.
Yeah, you're looking at them. Our business is structured so that we don't have payroll, so we don't need to worry about that.
So then the next thing that QuickBooks offers is tax integration. And this is the thing I've always felt like was the weakest link because I'm sure it drives a lot of value for some people. My accountant has always been like, just print out your P&L and you're good.
Same. When FreshBooks rolled out the sharer with an accountant feature, my accountant's like, I don't need that. Can you just export an Excel? That's the currency of my realm.
Okay, so then the next feature is accounts payable and receivable, which to me always makes me think of some Dilbert cartoon. I may have never actually figured out what those things are.
That's our lives now. Well, accounts payable is you and I subcontract or we have vendors and they invoice us and we got to pay them and there's thousands of them and we got to keep track of them. Well, in reality, we don't subcontract very often. And when we do, it's a few partners that we know how to work with. Obviously, accounts receivable, you and I are more worried about because we are sending invoices to clients and trying to get them to pay us back. However, at the scale that we work at, which is a handful of high touch clients a year, we've already got the invoicing software sending us alerts if something's late or if something got paid. So I don't think we need all of that complexity.
I totally agree. So then the next thing is time tracking for hourly work. And it's an Andrew company policy that we don't bill hourly.
We don't track time. We don't bill by the hour. We bill by value, baby. So
And we,
we're good on
and we
that one.
deliver so much of it.
And
to
we
be clear.
over deliver it. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, my favorite here is inventory management. I mean, to
Yep.
be clear, there's a world in which I would love to be managing some inventory of our cool new Game Boy, but we're not there.
Yeah, well, we've got supply chains that we're managing and parts, and we're shipping stuff. Yeah, we work in the digital realm for the most part. So scratch that one off the list.
Okay, so that's all the don't needs on,
Yeah.
my point of view, and I think we agreed on pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Let me move into the things that it said are QuickBooks features that I think we might need.
Okay.
Here's an easy one, mobile app. I do want this to be usable for my phone. It doesn't have to be an iPhone app, but it should be something that's like easy for me to handle entirely from my mobile device.
Yeah, and we could also do a web app, which is even easier than a native app. Like
Oh,
we could just have a mobile friendly view, right?
Yeah, just a good website, you know?
Yeah, like
if
a
we want to
good
download it
appy
at
site.
the home screen,
Yeah.
you know, we
Yeah.
can do that.
Great.
Okay, here's the gimme, which is profit and loss reporting, AKA financial reporting. This is the one thing that I think we export from QuickBooks that we 100% still need to have.
Yeah, this is a single view of everything we spent money on by category and everything we made money on by category. There's no complicated math here, by the way. It's nothing you couldn't do manually in an Excel spreadsheet. It's just that if you're putting things on a business credit card, you're invoicing clients, and you're doing this many times a month, it's nice to have software kind of spit all that out for you instead of some bookkeeper updating an Excel sheet. But that feels eminently easy to Vibecode, presuming that our bank, like I'm sure they give us JSON or CSV or something that we could access, right? We got to figure that out.
You can grab it from an API. I have looked into the docs from Mercury.
Oh, okay.
I think here is the things where you and I might start disagreeing.
Uh-huh.
I do believe we should consider implementing some sort of expense categorization in this app. And let me tell you what that is and why. Right now, when I pay for something with our credit card, it goes into QuickBooks, and I haven't done this in a while, but if I wanted to, I would go in there and it would automatically have said, oh, Andrew took a train on Amtrak. This is probably a travel expense.
Yeah.
And I might go in there
90% of the time it calls it a restaurant, which makes me bananas. But anyway, yes.
It's true. I would go in there and I'd say, this is a travel expense, this is a client meal, this is software subscription, et cetera. And when I do that, it allows us to both like slot those into the right part of the P&L and then also maintain some like idea of where we are spending most of our money. The challenge for me here is that I'm already doing this sort of, or I could be, across several financial platforms. Mercury. I also have my third-party app, You Need a Budget, which I use to categorize expenses.
Well, I'm confused. If Mercury is doing automatic expense categorization, aren't we covered?
I guess
what's
so.
the problem,
I would
officer?
say this. This is where we start to bleed from a need to a want. I do find Mercury's current implementation clunky. Like when I go in to categorize an expense, it's like nested beneath several menus. It's not a very joyful experience. And part of me is like, oh my God, if I could make this like a little daily game I'd play and it has like boopity bops and oh, confetti, like that would make what is currently a pain to do in Mercury kind of fun. And I think Mercury has the same problem where everything is a restaurant expense currently.
Yeah, well, that's a bigger like thing with payment processors and the fact that vendors never categorize themselves correctly, blah, 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 which is hard for anyone to solve. Here's the thing. I don't think anyone has ever said expense categorization and joy in the same sentence until today. Like if we can do a better, more fun version of that, great. The question becomes, does it somehow become like too many sources of truth where Mercury's doing it, we're doing it over here, or maybe Mercury's doing it, but we just don't export that data and we don't need it, and we're just doing our own categorization?
Yes, I mean, and I think, let me give you one more benefit towards making expense categorization a part of this app, is that it would allow us to layer in potentially more information than Mercury is currently handling, or to kind of do that more automatically than Mercury is. And the biggest thing would be tying expenses to clients. Now, this might not be a very big deal, but there are occasions where you and I travel or we spin up software licenses for particular clients, and it does affect the profitability
of that project.
Of the project. And I've never have really tracked that unless I've had subcontractors. And of course, I track how much they cost me versus the project cost. But I just don't even know what the drag on my profitability is per project for some of these expenses. And I am a little interested in having a better handle on that.
My question is, you're not talking about, because we're in plan mode here, right? We're just planning. We're just planning. You're not talking about, or are you, hooking up to our like Capital One credit card API? Are you saying pass through Mercury's data and then we just do extra, we superset it basically?
100%. Let's just say right out the gate, we are only dealing with our Mercury account, which is the Andrew Company's account.
Okay, that's the only APIs. Other than some third-party integrations, those are the only APIs we're talking about right now. Okay.
Right, and I think there's kind of two ways we could do it. We could make Mercury the source of truth for this app and just say everything we are doing has to be reflected somehow back to Mercury's data store. Or we can spin up a Postgres database that applies a million other fields on top of that data that does all sorts of slicing and dicing we care about. I think the thing that this app just has to do before it does anything else is it has to accept financial data from Mercury and spit out a P&L that our accountants can accept.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to track the money we spend, money we make, the category of each, ideally which project it's assigned to, and then organize that into a spreadsheet.
And to me, if that's kind of our North Star, like generate a document that our accountants will accept, every feature has to feed into making that North Star better. I think the only question I have for you is that the right North Star? Should we be throwing in like financial projections and I don't know, profitability things, or is that broadening the scope too much?
I think we focus on MVP, and I don't see which we've defined. I mean, it's like if it's so simple, it's almost boring or dumb. It's probably the right thing, especially if we're going to be writing software for it. And I don't see why that would be compatible with future expansion. If we're like, okay, we got a good system. It sure would be nice to do some projections. We don't have that right now, and we can add that. Is there any? It does sound very basic.
I think the thing that is the scope expansion, but might be worthwhile, and by the way, it might be a more fun product to demo next week, is how do we make categorization super simple and fun? Can we make it a competition between the two of us to do it faster?
You win. Congratulations, you won.
I'm wired this way. I love this stuff. Like, can we make this the particle of expense categorization?
See, before you know, we got a business that we accidentally start selling to other people. But
well, and I'll note one thing that it's funny. You and I were in New York 2 weeks ago, and we're out to dinner. We had drinks with a colleague of ours, and we're like, should we be taking pictures of our expenses? I mean, I don't even like what? I'm not saying we do that for MVP, but if we had this kind of ingestion point for all of our expenses that allows us to like really finally define who it's for, what it was used for.
I'm remembering now that we can reuse some code that I wrote that's sitting on a shelf, which is to solve the problem I'm obsessed with of bad categorization. I literally got a Plaid account to connect my actual checking and credit card accounts, and then used LLMs to look at the categories and be like, look at this business. Do you really think this is a restaurant? And the LLM would be like, no, clearly that's not. Everyone knows that Staples is an office supplies store. So even though it came across as restaurants, I'm going to change it. We could reuse some of that code. That's not the part you're getting at, the fun UX part. But there's also the back end part too that we got.
That's part of it, and I think this is the beauty of building software just for yourself. Like if we want, we can throw Opus 4.6 at categorizing
the
our
most
expenses.
Expensive model. Yeah,
we don't care because it's not something we have to scale. No, I love that, and I feel like the most of the work I did in QuickBooks was going in and making sure it had my categorizations correct. That it had properly synced the invoices I had sent to the money I had coming in. So maybe there's something to be done there too. And like just making sure everything was right. And it took so much time because the QuickBooks interface was bad. And meanwhile, I'm paying for all these other features like payroll that I'm not even using. And if we are narrowing this down to the output needs to be an amazing P&L for our accountant, which they love, and the experience needs to be an amazing like expense tracker and categorizer, that feels pretty constrained.
Yeah, maybe we could, maybe our little name for this, we could play on P&L somehow. It's called like Pretty and Light or something.
Pretty and Light.
I don't know. And I bet you within 18 months of this Vibecoded app, Mercury adds all of this functionality natively. I do love to see, I'm looking at their API docs. I think you said you already looked these up. It's nice to see good, I mean, tell me a legacy bank that has API documentation on its site. Wow, you can do a lot of stuff. You can like send payments via API.
Well, and cool. I think I will make one thing clear here too. I would want this to be tightly scoped in terms of our permissioning. And I think yes. I am fine with our Vibecoded stuff having read access to basically all our stuff. It's fine. Write access is going to be really, really carefully controlled. I do not want it to be able to transfer or send money in any way whatsoever.
Even read access, of course, creates security issues. We always say that with Vibecoded software, you know, the big mistake is people will Vibecode something, put it out on the internet, and then there's tons of security holes that the sort of less technically inclined developer didn't even know about. We're not putting this, well, we are putting it on the internet actually, but we're not sharing it with other users, just ourselves. So that simplifies things. But I actually wonder if our approach to security needs to be as robust as if we were sharing it with other people. So
yeah,
how do we do that?
We should think about it.
We just make security good. We just say,
I mean, there's a version of this
good security.
That's entirely run on
a Mac Mini. Yeah, I kind of love that. If you can get one, they're all sold out.
And maybe we have, you know, I have a Raspberry Pi upstairs. You know, I don't think this needs too much power.
Got one
you know,
right
just
there.
you can only access it from my home Wi-Fi. Except, you know, there's two of us. That's the problem.
I have to come to your house every time I want to categorize an expense.
Be too bad.
All right, so obviously security is going to be a whole part of the plan that we do need to take seriously, but I'm not worried about it. I think that the most important first step of vibe coding is what we're doing, which is just talking out loud and making sure that we agree on the thing that we're trying to build.
Yes, and I think it's like always important, really for any project you ever undertake, but especially for vibe-coded stuff, to know what your ultimate goal is.
Yeah, and I also like that we're not trying to like create a new product to solve a new need in the marketplace, which some of our other side apps we're trying to do, and it's hard. We're trying to solve like an extremely well-defined problem that everyone has the same of, and just replicate software so that we don't have to pay for it, which is actually kind of a fun way to do it.
And if we do this, we've saved, you know, between $500 and $1,000. It's kind of cool.
What else? What else do we need to figure out?
Honestly, I think it comes down to what we want the user interface to be, and that's what's kind of fun. Like over the next 2 weeks, I expect you and I are going to be doing some fig jamming and like doing some drawing of wireframing of like what we want this thing to look like when we open it up. Because I do find that obviously, you know, the vibe coding models are good enough to just kind of take a direction and run with it, but they are 10,000% better when you kind of have a nug of an idea in mind and then present it to them and they flesh it out.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about this because I feel like with something this sort of straightforward and well understood, there is a world where you just carefully document requirements, build a plan, and the LLM spits out a decent UI. I mean, you're talking about like fun UI for expense categorization. So yeah, you wouldn't expect Claude to like generate fun expense categorization UI. I'm genuinely asking, like, do you think that 2 weeks in Figma is needed versus like just spit out something and like make sure that it works, kick the tires? I'm sort of of two minds on this.
We should try the easy road first. You know, it's possible, you know, I'm being nostalgic or towards
Or
what I
just
like to do.
professional. Like that is like a better way to design real software. And I'm like, do we need that or not? I can't just, I mean, it would make the software better if we spent time in Figma beforehand, to be clear. The question is that investment worth the return for something we're trying to do quickly? I don't know.
You know, here's what I would say. I think we are always telling clients, like, start with the lowest fidelity way to get your idea out. And we honestly need to grapple with, is the lowest fidelity way for us to just kind of hand off the transcript of this conversation to Opus and say, do what you think it should be?
Yeah.
Or is the lowest fidelity way for us to get this pink piece of construction paper from my child and a marker and set a timer for 5 minutes and sketch what we think it could be and then deliver that? Like, how much value does that add? I think my hypothesis is that taking the construction paper is still worth the time
And low cost.
and low cost, but that's changing. It's all changing. We'll see.
I love the idea of exporting the transcript of this conversation, giving it to Claude Opus, and saying thoughts, feedback, and we go back and forth on a couple questions, and then we basically say, build the outline of a plan that we can then hand to a coding agent. Does that sound like the right next step?
Yeah, and we should use Bandwagon, your app, which is all about like having a model sit between two people trying to figure something out.
Okay, we do it after the show.
Yeah,
and we come back next week.
Yeah,
we're weekly here, and we say, here's what we came up with. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Andrew, I think we did it.
I think
our Friday has been tremendously productive. I can see why QuickBooks is worried.
Yeah, they got the Andrews on their back. They should.
No,
be worried.
you know what I mean, though. Like the fact that we're entertaining this, it is of concern. And I think if I can just say one final thought, the software that I will keep is software that is anticipating problems that I am not aware that I have, or I wasn't aware could be solved so much better.
Anyway, we talk a big game. We'll see if we can make this thing.
Totally. And we should invite them on the show if our accountants are happy with what we've come up with.
My gosh, that would be so funny.
Gotta get Bob on here.
We should get Bob on the phone. He'd probably do it.
All right, Andrew. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.